Good afternoon, viewers. Welcome to the Facebook Live session. You can be a victim of cancer or you can be a survivor of cancer. It's all about your mindset. Welcome to the Facebook Live session from Apollo Cancer Hospitals by our senior consultant Dr. Yugandhar Sharma, consultant radiation oncologist, Apollo Cancer Hospitals, Vizag. Dr. Yugandhar Sharma has completed his MD in radiation oncology and he's the first person to clear his FRCR clinical oncology from UK. Today, doctor will be emphasizing us today about advances in cancer treatments. Hello, doctor.
Hello.
Doctor, before going into treatments, can you briefly tell us what is cancer and how big it is in numbers and future hold of cancer?
Uh, if you look at the cancer map in India, it is a bigger problem and it is going to be a most common problem and one of the most common causes of death across the world in the coming 5 to 10 years, overtaking cardiac and other risk factors. If you see the picture in India, according to the NCRP and National Cancer Institute's data, there are around 1 million to 1.5 million new cases diagnosed every year, and most of them are being diagnosed very late, so that because of that the mortality and other things are very high in India.
Okay, doctor, what are the warning signs of cancer? How cancer screening can be done and detect cancer?
If you see, the word cancer itself rakes in fear in all the minds of the people, in almost everybody. So if you want to know what is cancer, uh, cancer is an unwanted growth in the body. So it has its own mind and it doesn't stop from growing. So unless the cancer has grown to a particular size, people cannot detect it. And that is the reason in most of the countries, and especially in Southeast Asia and in India, most of the cancers are diagnosed in late stages. As you aptly asked, is there any screening for cancers like in other diseases? Yes, there are screening procedures for cancer, and unfortunately, there are only few cancers which can be screened. If we see at the screening uh, of cancers, especially in females, we can screen for cervical cancer through pap smear screening, and in breast cancers through mammography. If we see pap smear screening, every married female can undergo pap smear screening almost every 3 years. And uh, because if you see the cervical cancer has a long latent period in the sense, for the we have discovered that cervical cancer is caused by a virus called human papillomavirus. So with the infection and development of cancer, there is a long time gap. So what screening programs does is, if you take a pap smear test, that is taking a smear from the cervix, we can see that if there is any infection or not, or if there is any cancerous changes in that or not. So if at all, if there are any cancerous changes, we can find it in a very early stage and get rid of all uh, the cancerous changes, or we can take early action. So if you look at the Western data in the UK, in the US, and in the Europe, after the advent of Pap smear screening, the incidence of advanced cases of cervical cancer has come down by more than 50%. So nowadays, 90% of the cervical cancers that are diagnosed in Western world are mostly in stage 1, wherein only surgical treatments are required, avoiding chemotherapy and radiation. But unfortunately, in India, still around 50 to 60% of the cases are diagnosed in locally advanced stages, which require chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery is not at all feasible in those cases. And if you look at breast cancer is one cancer where we have grown by leaps and bounds in terms of diagnosis, in terms of genetic testing, in terms of treatments. Almost in every aspect of breast cancer, we have leapt forward. So in females above the age of 40 years, we can say each female can undergo mammography testing, and if we go through the screening regularly, we can find these breast cancers at a very early stage and treat them. And in the Western world, the screening mammogram is a mandatory testing annually for every female above 40 years of age. And in a few patients where there is family history of breast cancer, we can start this screening very early. So this mammography can detect around 3 millimeter size tumors also, so that the detection is very easy and the treatments are very easy. If you take screening in males, one thing which we can do for screening in males is prostate cancer, where we can see PSA levels and correlate it clinically and depending upon the symptoms of prostate cancer. And recently, the FDA has approved lung cancer screening also for smokers who had more than 10 years of smoking history, and with a low dose HRCT scan of the chest to look for any lung cancers. So all this combined, in India, the most common problem is the head and neck cancers, wherein we have a lot of pan chewers and tobacco smoking consumption and everything is very high. So in India, this problem and bad oral hygiene. So if we can identify these individuals and counsel them, we can detect the cancers very early and treat them very early.
Okay, doctor, that's nice. You have explained the deductions and screening part. So, doctor, what are the different types of treatments available for cancer?
Yeah, the different types of treatment that are available for cancer are surgery, basically surgery, chemotherapy, radiation therapy, and last but not the least, palliative and supportive care and end-of-life care. So since the olden days, even if you look at the movies which generally influence people, and if you look at the general thought of the people about cancer, even nowadays in this multi-millennial age and younger generation, people also think cancer, the word itself strikes fear in everybody. So it is considered to be a terminal illness, but we see regularly patients who have survived for more than 10 years, more than 20 years. And cancer is not an inconquerable disease, it is a conquerable disease, again, if it is detected very early. So all the treatments, be it surgery, chemotherapy, radiation therapy, and the palliative care and the support to end of life care, all form an important part in cancer treatments. If we look at surgery, initially, for example, if you take breast cancer, initially they used to remove whole of the breast. There was complete removal of the breast, and that was the only treatment that was available in the initial days. So as the years passed by, the surgical advancements also happened, and now we are able to remove only the affected part in the breast, just a lump, and then look for its molecular characteristics and decide upon further treatments. And one of the most recent advancement is the sentinel lymph node biopsy, wherein we just inject a dye near the tumor and see which lymph node it is affected, and remove only those lymph nodes and take treatment decisions depending upon that. And in the surgical field, the most recent advancement is robotic surgeries. Be it robotic prostatectomy, that is surgery of the prostate, or robotic removal of the pancreas. So almost in every type of surgery, robots are playing an important role in the surgical field of advancements.
Okay, doctor, there are a lot of misconceptions around radiation therapy, as you are a radiation oncologist, and there is a fear in the most of the people that it's an unsafe treatment and may cause more harm than the cure. Could you tell us more about the radiation therapy?
Yes, radiation treatments. Basically, radiation treatment is a treatment with X-rays. So these X-ray treatment initially used to be very cumbersome and very fearful. As you know, radiation treatments, if we in the outpatient clinic, if you sit with the patient and say them that you need radiation therapy, even nowadays most of the patients are scared to have radiation treatments. But if you see the evolution of radiotherapy, the radiotherapy has come by leaps and bounds. Next.
So, in which cancer does radiation play a major role? And what is a major role that plays exactly in the cancer diagnosis?
So radiation therapy has a major role in most of the cancers. If you look at the data, radiation therapy is needed by mostly around 60% of the cancer patients need radiation therapy at least once in their lifetime. So if you look at radiation therapy techniques and these things, we have come by leaps and bounds to see what radiation therapy has done to the patients. Radiation therapy per se is not harmful, but as I told earlier, people has fear saying that radiation therapy can harm a lot rather than giving any advantages. But that misconception is wrong. Radiation therapy has come by leaps and bounds in the terms of technological advancement, in the terms of machine advances, in the terms of how we plan radiation therapy. Like when I was training, we were planning only by using the cobalt machine. So if you see the machine advances, we have evolved from cobalt therapy machines, which are older machines, to newer true beam machine, which we have at Apollo Hospitals Vizag, and CyberKnife and proton therapies. So this is in terms of machine advancement. And if you look at technological, the way radiation therapy is delivered, initially it was like delivering radiation. Say for example, if you want to deliver radiation to the face, most of the patients in the older days who received radiation therapy used to have a lot of side effects because radiation completely was delivered to the normal structures, to the tumor, and because of that there was no sparing of the normal organs. That is the reason patient used to have a lot of side effects. Now we have latest advances of radiation therapy called intensity modulated radiation therapy, image guided radiotherapy, volumetric modulated arc therapy, and proton therapy, last but not the least, sorry. So in intensity modulated radiotherapy, in the olden days, what we used to do is, say, if we deliver radiation from this side and this side, there are salivary glands over here which receive the same amount of radiation as the tumor. But with intensity modulation radiation therapy, what we can do is we can avoid these salivary glands here, whereas the tumor can get the highest dose possible. So this has allowed us to deliver radiation therapy to a higher dose to the tumor and a lower dose to the normal structures, so that the side effects are very less and the patients are able to lead a very good quality of life. And most recent studies have also shown that these in fact aid us in completely curing the cancer and making the patient cancer free with a good quality of life. As I said, good quality of life is the most important thing for the patients. And yes.
Okay, doctor. So, as you have told us the many advanced techniques, and so what is the comparison between the recent latest advanced techniques and between the traditional or older techniques?
So, in the traditional radiation therapy techniques, where we still use in patients who have in a palliative setting, basically if the cancer has spread to the bones or brain, or if the cancer is in a very advanced stage, we still use palliative radiotherapy and the traditional techniques wherein radiation therapy is delivered in the form of a square or a rectangle, depending upon where there is not much of planning included in terms of delivery of radiation therapy. So there, the intention of treatment is giving patient a good symptom relief, not the cure of disease, where when the cancer has spread all over the body, chemotherapy forms the main stem of treatment. Radiotherapy can act as and when required when the patient has severe symptoms of pain or obstruction or anything. So in these cases, we use traditional conventional techniques. wherein the time required is less for planning and not much of complicated procedure is required, and it is cost effective. So if we look at the advanced techniques of IMRT or IGRT or stereotactic radiosurgery, these are highly technologically advanced radiotherapy techniques where we see, as I told earlier, we can deliver higher dose to the tumor tissue and spare the critical organs which are very near to the tumors. Say for example, if there is the spinal cord in head and neck cancers, previously lot of radiation was delivered to the spinal cord and patients used to have neurological problems. But nowadays with IMRT, VMAT and other advances, we are able to happily spare the spinal cord and deliver the wanted dose we want, the target dose to the tumor, which is around the spinal cord, and cure the patient completely. So, and if we see further advances, stereotactic radiosurgery, especially in brain, where we deliver very high dose of radiation that is equivalent of 30 days in a single dose of radiation in a highly specialized manner, stereotactic radiosurgery, what we say. So this is three-dimensional identification of the tumor and delivering a high dose of radiation to that small target in the brain so that further treatments are not required and it is equivalent to surgery. So these are the advances we have seen. And if you look at the other aspect of radiation, these radiations are delivered by high energy X-rays. But now at Apollo we have advanced in terms of using proton therapy also. So protons have an advantage over photons in cases such as childhood malignancies where there are no long-term effects with proton.
Okay, doctor, before we go into the proton therapy and more details, doctor, you having a lot of experience in CyberKnife techniques, could you elaborate and explain us what exactly a CyberKnife is and what are its advantages?
CyberKnife is basically a newest radiotherapy machine which is used for robotic radiosurgery. CyberKnife is basically a robo mounted linear accelerator. We usually what we have is a linear accelerator which is in a very big room here and which has movements only in and around a patient in a 360-degree circle. But CyberKnife robotic radiosurgery system moves around the patients in more than 1400 possible combinations and deliver treatment very precisely, which we call as sub-millimeter accuracy, and deliver the treatment. Mostly this is used for, as I said earlier, stereotactic radiosurgery, and CyberKnife system has different types of real-time tracking systems for brain, which is called 6D skull tracking system, and for respiratory tracking, as we see in the lungs, if there is a tumor, if you want to treat the tumor, they move up and down with respiration. So what CyberKnife does is, which is called respiratory tracking. CyberKnife, we teach the robot the pattern of respiration the patient is taking on, and in the recent years for the patients.
Okay, doctor, what exactly proton therapy is? And we take a pride to say that Apollo Proton Cancer Center, which is established in Chennai, is the first in India and South Asia. So what exactly a proton therapy is?
So proton therapy is a different form of radiation therapy. Proton therapy and photon therapy. This is what people hear nowadays. So photon therapy is basically treatment with high energy X-rays. X-rays are nothing but photons. If a photon therapy is being delivered, the photon goes in like this and comes out like this, depositing some energy inside. But if you look at proton, it goes here, deposits all its energy here and stops there. So these treatments are very helpful in traditionally what we call radio resistant cases. So in radio-resistant cases, radiation-resistant cases, if we use protons, then we can deliver much higher doses of radiation without delivering high radiation doses to the critical structures and achieve good results. So proton therapy helps us in delivering higher doses to the tumor tissues and lower doses to the critical organs. And this therapy is also helpful, and it's one of the most commonly indicated thing. And worldwide, all the pediatric population and children childhood malignancies are being treated with proton. When I was in UK, almost all the children cancers are being referred to the proton center, because radiation therapy once given, the body doesn't forget. So patients tend to have long-term effects with radiation therapy. So these effects are very has to be taken care of in children, because they have growth abnormalities, they have brain issues, they have bone abnormalities if we give inadvertent radiation. So giving proton therapy is highly beneficial for children in terms of long-term sequelae and achieving a complete cure in childhood malignancies.
Okay, doctor, what are the advantages of proton over a normal radiation therapy?
As I listed, these are the main advantages of proton therapy. So mainly in childhood malignancies, to prevent long-term side effects, and in head and neck cancers, where if we give normal photon radiation therapy, what will happen is we deliver radiation all over the mouth and this mucosa and the salivary glands and everything. So in protons, what will happen is, as I said, proton is a charged particle. It goes to some distance and stops there and delivers whole of its energy. So what will happen in head and neck cancers is, we can spare the swallowing apparatus here and give very less side effects to the patient. Say for example, in cases of prostate cancer also, if you deliver proton radiation therapy, and prostate cancer is one of the sites in adult malignancies where giving proton therapy has shown a significant survival advantage in terms of cancer control.
Okay, doctor, before we go ahead, there are some questions from viewers. Can you please list out the cost of treatment from various cancers? This is a question from one of our viewers.
Okay. The cost of treatments for advanced radiotherapy techniques can anyway cost between 50,000 to a couple of lakhs with advanced radiotherapy techniques. And with proton radiation therapy, yes, it is costly, but it is effective in terms of if you look at the economic aspect of when we are delivering radiation to the patients, especially in children, if you look at the economic aspect and the amount of protection they get with protons, that money is worth.
Okay, doctor, we have another question. Can you brief the role of CyberKnife in trigeminal neuralgia?
So in trigeminal neuralgia, what we call as tic douloureux. So the patient typically presents with pain over one half of the face or over the jaw. Most commonly, patients initially present to a dentist where they have dental pain, or to an ENT specialist where they have ear pain or face pain. So they go there and multiple procedures undergone, and this pain won't come down, and ultimately they end up with a neurologist where medical management is being started. So the ideal treatment for trigeminal neuralgia to start with is medical management with the tablets. And the most important thing with trigeminal neuralgia is we have to identify the cause of trigeminal neuralgia. There are a lot of cases where this has not been done properly. So if we are able to identify the cause, we can treat the cause. Say for example, in most of the cases of trigeminal neuralgia, there will be a blood vessel around the nerve inside the brain, and that is the reason this trigeminal neuralgia happens. In those cases, surgery would be the ideal treatment, which is called microvascular decompression surgery. So this will help the patients a lot, and most of the patients get excellent pain relief. And if this is not happening, and in the patients where a cause is not identified, radiosurgery becomes a standard of treatment in these cases, wherein the patients will have around 60 to 70% of the patients will have a significant pain relief with complete stoppage of medications, and in those whom the pain is still present, the dosage of medications can be very less.
Okay, doctor, as you have explained about the radiation therapy and you have given a brief on a surgical thing and also, so doctor, what exactly chemotherapy is? And we heard many like chemotherapy, immunotherapy, and targeted therapy. What exactly they are and how they are useful in cancer?
Chemotherapy is basically treating cancer with drugs, either intravenous drugs or taking drugs in a tablet form. So it basically directs cancer therapy to a whole of the body. So most of the cases now are being treated with chemotherapy, and almost 80 to 90% of the patients will require chemotherapy at some stage of their cancer treatments. And as you said, targeted therapies, immunotherapies, and other traditionally chemotherapy drugs are chemicals that are being produced with the help when they discovered in the plants. And nowadays, immunotherapy has been more popularized. It is costly, but it is life-saving. So immunotherapy is basically tumor cells have certain receptors to escape from our immune system. So our immune system naturally acts against the foreign cancer cells inside the body, but cancer cells are intelligent enough to escape that immune systems by creating a receptor on their cell surface. So if we can identify if there are any of that mechanisms inside the cancer, there are advanced molecular testing methods now to see whether that particular thing is happening in cancer or not. So if we can identify that, we can give a drug that blocks that, and our immune system cells act against the cancer cell. So this is called immunotherapy. And targeted therapies are the treatments that are exactly targeted against the particular molecular change that is happening in the cancer cells. Like when initially the most important discovery of the century or decade, whatever you say in terms of chemotherapy is which came on the Time magazine in the year 2000 or 2002. I correctly don't remember, as the capsule that can change the lives in terms of chronic myeloid leukemia, which is a blood cancer, where the mortality rates are the persons who are dying with that cancer out of 100, 80 to 90 used to die very early. But after discovery of the particular molecular change in the cancer cells there, a drug was discovered called imatinib. That has changed everything in terms of cancer management, where 80-90% people diagnosed with this cancer were dying. After this drug, 80 to 90% of the people are living. So that is the change that drugs have made in terms of cancer treatments. Like that now in breast cancer, where hormone treatments are also the main form of treatment, where we are identifying particular hormone receptor changes in the breast cancer cells. And in lung cancer, if you can see, nowadays we don't even start the treatment until the complete molecular workup is complete, unless it is an emergency. So there are particular mutations that happen in cancer cells in lung cancer, wherein a simple tablet is enough to control the cancer and extend the life. Previously, lung cancer without any mutation testing or anything, we used to give common chemotherapy to patients, and there were side effects, and patients' lifespan was also not so great. But if you look at the molecular changes and the testing that have happened, we can now extend the life of patients until 2 to 3 years also, even in stage 4 lung cancers, and in colorectal cancers and in other cancers also. Now testing of these molecular changes has been the greatest advancement and greatest discovery, and thousands of drugs are now in clinical trial phases, where we are able to achieve a lot of change in cancer treatments. But that should not put us against the traditional treatments of chemotherapy. They are still the standard of treatment, because they can give significant responses where these treatments also cannot work.
Okay, doctor, it was a nice session. Before we end up the session, what would you like to tell to cancer patients or a cancer survivor? What type of things they have to do and what precautions they need to take care in their further life?
So I would suggest the patients who are eligible for screening to go ahead with screening for cervical cancer or breast cancer in females and prostate cancer in males. And if anybody has a family history of cancer, they need to come for cancer screening very early and adopt a very healthy lifestyle with, as somebody said, the more colorful your plate is with vegetables and fruits and everything, the more colorful your life will be. So that is how we have to adapt: exercise, good diet, reduction in harmful substances and harmful habits, and having awareness about your own body. So if you look at the early warning signs of cancer, WHO has designed a word called caution, wherein you can search online the meaning of this caution in cancer. So there are few symptoms and signs where you need to be aware of what is happening in your body. So the simple thing here is awareness about oneself is the one which is very important in detecting cancer very early and having treatments which show us to the path of cure.
Doctor, thank you so much, Doctor. Before ending up, we would like to thank you for the wonderful session. And you can consult Dr. Yugendra Sharma on Ask Apollo and on Apollo 24/7. And you can physically walk in Apollo Cancer Center, Ariloa, Vishakhapatnam. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.